Okay, the time is 4 o'clock. So I will call the Plan Commission meeting to order in person and via Zoom, Tuesday, January 25th, 2022 at 4 p.m. Roll call, please.
Commission Member Becker.
Here.
Commission Member Highfield.
Here.
Commission Member Schultz.
Here.
Commission Member Lesko-Hare.
Here.
Commission Member Kesenick.
Here.
Manager Lemire.
Here.
Engineer Selly.
Here.
Okay, next on the agenda is review and possible action relating to the minutes of the January 11th, 2022 regular Plan Commission meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a public hearing relating to the application for a conditional use permit for the property located at 1 West Milwaukee Avenue for the installation of communications equipment on the roof of the building. Are we doing a presentation?
We can. I believe Thaddeus is on the line. Thaddeus was the applicant for placing this tower on top of the Blackhawk. We could ask Thaddeus to provide a little bit of the background, and I do have all of the submittals up on the screen here that I can share with everybody in the room and online, and then have the public comment following.
Yeah, I'd like that presentation first before the public hearing. Thank you.
That I'll bring up the examples that you'd provided in the documentation that you submitted. For the Blackhawk, if you want to give just a little bit of an overview of your request for this particular location.
All right. Yes. Thank you all first for allowing me to present this presentation for US Cellular. US Cellular plans to place cellular equipment on top of the Blackhawk building located at 1 Milwaukee Avenue West. The antennas will be mounted to the roof penthouse of the elevator. They will be painted to match the brick, mounted no higher than the top of the roof line of the penthouse. The equipment will be located on the lower portion of the roof. That'll contain the US Cellular cabinets and pertinent cellular equipment needed for this project.
And what I'm showing here on the screen for those of you in the room and on the Zoom is just the submitted information. So you can see the photographs here of the installation on the side. This is the elevator shaft that Thaddeus was talking about, the brick structure here. I think most important perhaps for many of the members is the photos that kind of gave a perspective of how this would look within the city. Let's see if we can zoom in here a little bit for us. So this is the top of the elevator shaft here, standing on the Main Street Bridge looking south for perspective. This is a similar view, a little closer, again on Main Street. Here is looking to the west from just in front of the post office on Milwaukee Avenue. And this is from the library, again on Milwaukee Avenue. You can see the Blackhawk building here. This is from 3rd Street, South 3rd Street, looking to the north west. Again, this is the Blackhawk building here. And this is just outside of the Horde Museum on South 4th Street. It was obviously it's occluded here. There's no view of the Blackhawk from that location. And this is immediately south on Main Street. This is looking to the east on Milwaukee Avenue. Blackhawk here silhouetted in the back.
Is there a tower already up there?
There is actually Commissioner Highfield. You can probably see it best in this photo. This is the tower that's been up there for some time.
And now, is that being replaced or is additional one going to be set up?
Thaddeus, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not placing any facilities on this existing tower. You're attaching everything to that elevator shaft.
Yes, that would be correct. We are only installing to the elevator shaft.
So will
But
this
you're-
antenna still be up there?
It is my
Yes.
understanding, yes. I think the installation was noted in red. Let me flip back to that location here. Here's the antenna, Commissioner Highfield, that we were just looking at, the existing antenna.
Okay,
Location, the new equipment is red, outlined in here. So it's much low profile, tighter to the building.
okay, so there's not going to be two antenna towers.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions about the application on the building? Again, I can flip through to some of these pages to help with the discussion. Otherwise, we can probably move ahead with the public comment.
Andy, can I add a little bit to that?
Certainly.
So part of the conditional use process for this particular request is due to the fact that it is in the downtown historic mixed use district. So it has to be looked at. It has to also be reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission, and it has to be then approved by the Planning Commission. In addition, the State Historical Society, one of the letters that you have in the attachments, looked at this as well due to the historic nature of the building, and approved it, provided that they meet the three sets of requirements. One being that it not exceed the current height of the building, which it doesn't. Two, that it be colored or painted to match the existing structure, which US Cellular has agreed to. And thirdly, that it attached to the mortar joints and not the brick in the building, which US Cellular has also agreed to. So those three things have been met, and it has been reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission as well.
Thank you. Okay, I will go ahead and open the public hearing relating to the application for a conditional use permit for the property located at 1 West Milwaukee Avenue. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak? Okay, this will be the second call for any members of the public wishing to speak. This is the third and final call for any members of the public wishing to speak about the application for the conditional use permit for 1 West Milwaukee Avenue. Okay, hearing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Next item on the agenda is review and possible action relating to the conditional use permit for US Cellular, 1 West Milwaukee Avenue, to install communications equipment on the roof of the building, CUP 2022-01.
And Brian, if you wanted to just simply maybe introduce the conditional use permit process, why we need it for this, and just sort of fill in the audience as to that permit type.
Yep, absolutely. For this location, before this is in the downtown historic mixed use district. We have requirements in the zoning for any changes to the exterior of any of the structures in that zoning district have to come to the Planning Commission for approval. In addition, they may have to be reviewed and approved by the Historic Preservation Commission as well. So that sets us up for the need for the conditional use permit in this particular instance. Again, I think that they have met the requirements put forth by the State Historical Society. They do meet the requirements in the zoning code. So provided that that there's no other questions or concerns, I believe that we are in a position to grant this conditional use.
I will note in the staff recommendation, there are 5 conditions of approval, and those are also included on a resolution that's in your packet. This is a new method of approval for the Plan Commission, and something I added to be able to document any conditions put on these types of conditional use permits in an official way that is signed. And then we can include it in property files. We can send one to the property owner and to the applicant. And then it's much easier to follow up into the future when you have the conditions written on an approval document such as a resolution. So that is why the resolution is in your packet, and the conditions that staff is recommending are as follows. The conditional use permit authorizes the installation of wireless communications antenna and equipment on the rooftop of the building located at 1 West Wisconsin Avenue as depicted on the submitted site plan. The applicant must adhere to all recommendations of the State Historic Preservation Office to mount the antennas to mortar joints, paint the equipment to match the existing building, and not exceed the current height of the structure. Number 3, the applicant must submit the proper building permit applications, plans, and associated fees for approval by the building inspector prior to construction. 4, the applicant shall have 365 days from the date of approval of this conditional use permit to initiate construction on the project and shall be operational within 730 days of approval. And then 5, any major changes to the proposed conditions or use of the property shall be approved by the Plan Commission by amending this conditional use permit. And the zoning administrator may approve minor changes administratively. I will also note that a notice was sent out to property owners within 100 feet of this parcel on January 7th. It was also published in the newspaper per the requirements for publication. Any questions or comments from the Plan Commission?
Commissioner Highfield, I will make a motion that the Planning Commission grants a conditional use permit to allow installation of wireless communication antennas and equipment on the building located at 1 West Milwaukee Avenue in the downtown historic mixed-use zoning for the following described premises as listed in resolution number blank.
Yeah, that resolution number will be assigned if and when the resolution is adopted. So I will accept that motion to approve the conditional use permit subject to the conditions included on the resolution. Is there a second? I'll second. Thank you. Any further discussion by the Plan Commission? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Could we also have the presentation relating to the request for the conditional use permit for 711 Zapki Street prior to the public hearing as well?
Certainly. Yeah, let me pull up the packet for that location. Get to the site plan first. So Thaddeus is on the line as well for this. This is another US Cellular request. This came before city staff maybe a year ago. Originally, the intent was to attach it to the existing water tower, the blue standpipe, if you will, on top of Zapki Hill. The engineering on that indicated that was not quite ideal in terms of the loading on the water tower from winds. And so it was shifted to a situation where a single monopole would be erected and the antenna array mounted on that. The location of the monopole was moved to the rear of this parcel in order to obstruct it from the view of the surrounding neighbors to the highest extent possible. And we did talk a bit about the access way, which is from the city's access road and small parking lot next to our well. Originally, that access road was going to move straight forward, and then after looking at some of the grades, this slight turn. was placed in there to reduce the slope a little bit in getting up there. There are a number of pages in here with respect to plantings and various renderings of the fences and things like that associated with this particular request that I can flip through. With that, Thaddeus, if you have anything to add regarding this particular project of yours, I'd be happy to have that now.
Yes, I appreciate it. Yeah, as you mentioned, Andy, we are proposing to place a 70-foot monopole next to the water tank. Our intent was to go on the water tank, but our A&E company determined that that wouldn't be a feasible installation. So working with the city, we agreed upon this new location that would set the tower back away from view as best as possible in the location, but still being able to provide the coverage needs that US Cellular has for the area. We also are proposing to place in a retaining wall and, as mentioned, the access road to minimize the impact of that area as best as possible.
And here's just a scaled drawing of that monopole in relation to the existing water tank on the location. Zoning Administrator Juarez, did you have anything to add to this request?
Yeah, a couple of things. The zoning for this particular parcel is institutional. Institutional does have provisions for community facilities and communication facilities like this in it with a conditional use provision. They do have to meet some setback requirements for, it's basically if the tower were to fall down, it won't hit any of the adjoining properties. So it meets that requirement. In addition, they would have to make it a neutral or like a sky blue color or something to match the water tower and stuff there. So there's some different provisions that are in there that can be met in this particular case. So I think that's all we have from a zoning perspective. It meets the other base standards. So.
Okay, and again, there's a resolution in your packet that has, let's see, looking at 4 conditions of approval. And those are that the conditional use permit authorizes the installation of the 70-foot tall monopole communications tower on the property located at 711 Zapki Street as depicted on the site plan. The applicant must submit the proper building permits, building permit applications, plans, and fees for approval by the building inspector. The applicant shall have 365 days from the date of approval to initiate construction and be operational within 730 days. And then the final standard condition that any major changes to the proposed conditions or use of the property shall be approved by the Plan Commission by amending this conditional use permit, with the minor changes being approved administratively by the zoning administrator. Okay, with that, I will open the public hearing. This will be the first call for public comment on the conditional use permit for the property located at 711 Zapki Street. If you could come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. And can you make sure that the green light is on that microphone? Is there any light at all? Red. Okay, press that button and make it green. There you go. Please state your name and address for the record.
I will.
Thank you.
Sandra Free, 810 Mesmer Street, Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. I want to thank the commission for giving me the opportunity to share my concerns today about this application for the conditional. I want to thank the commission for giving me this opportunity today to share my concerns about the application for the conditional use permit that would allow construction of the cell phone tower at 711 Zapki Street. As I already stated, my name is Sandy Free. I live at 810 Mesmer Street. My backyard is directly next to the proposed site of the construction. The proposed site is in the middle of a residential neighborhood. The proposed tower would change the feel and the character of our neighborhood. Fort Atkinson offers the best small town living, peaceful and quiet quality of life. The construction of this tower asks the residents of our neighborhood to permanently sacrifice part of the charm that attracted us to this neighborhood in exchange for the noise, pollution, service vehicles, and unattractive view of the cell phone tower. The proposed plan does not adhere to the current zoning without the conditional permit. Residents of Fort Atkinson buy and build with confidence that the responsible planning and zoning will be respected. If the city fails to adhere to the zoning rules allowed by allowing the conditional use and erecting a cell phone tower in a residential neighborhood, this is in direct betrayal to the trust that we place in our city to make decisions that protect its residents. The proposed plan for permit is not really needed due to sufficient land elsewhere. There are a number of more appropriate sites within a short distance of the proposed location. The tower does not need to be built in the middle of a residential neighborhood. There is evidence that the emissions from cell phone towers might affect the health of residents in the neighborhood and the children that attend the nearby elementary school. By allowing this private company to erect this tower, it potentially endangers the health and welfare of Fort Atkinson residents. The proposed plan will have a negative impact on the property values in the neighborhood. The decreased desirability of the location could lead to decreased property values, which could easily negate the small amount of revenue raised by approving this project for the city. The proposed plan interferes with the use and enjoyment of our property. I relish the peaceful time I spend every day on my deck, interacting with the birds and the other wildlife that is drawn to this location due to the trees and the quietness and the open space. We do not want to see this sacrifice in order to enable a cell phone company to increase their profits. In summary, there's no reason to construct a tower that will negatively affect any residential neighborhood. I ask that the commission find a more suitable location away from residential neighborhoods and our residents who deserve full consideration and care when the commission is making zoning decisions. There is no price that can be set in exchange for our health and safety in the enjoyment of our properties. I ask the Planning Commission to deny the conditional use permit for 7 Oleski Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak in the public hearing?
Thank you for letting me be. We just found out about this morning, so Sandy said it so eloquently, so I thank Sandy. My name is Betty Clout. And we did live at 818 Mesmer Street, which is right below the tower. It's, if you want to know, that hill is actually Clout Hill. It's been in our generation for, wait, your great-great-grandpa? Great-grandpa. And so when that hill, when Bob was 4 years old, when that was built, and on that Mesmer Street, it was their house and one other house on that whole subdivision. Okay. And so now who lives there is a third generation of Clout, Eli and Tammy Clout. So we all have a history on that. And my husband will talk more about the history of it, but my daughter-in-law is here, but she can't talk today. And we're just so passionate. I'm not supposed to be out here, but this is our passion, that neighborhood, and just brings tears to our eyes. Eli couldn't be here today either, but he wanted me to read this to you. I did not get the letter regarding the cell phone tower. My neighbor brought it to my attention this morning. I'm not able to be at your meeting, but could you please share with the rest of the committee? My name is Eli Clout. I live at 818 Mesmer Street, right in front of the Blue Water Tower, 200 feet downhill from the proposed US Cellular 70-foot tower. I have 5 young children. Common sense would tell me that cell phone waves coming through my house could be potential risk to my children. I remember asking my grandpa, who built the house I live in, why so many people smoked. It's not good for you. He said there is no proof that smoking causes cancer. He was right. It wasn't until 1964 that the Surgeon General gave an announcement that smoking causes cancer. At this time, only a third of doctors said it was too bad, and 43% of those doctors smoked themselves. Researching cell phone waves will give you the same type of stats. You can find just as many professionals that say it's perfectly fine as say it is not. I'm asking that you do not allow this tower in my backyard. Thanks for your time and consideration. And like the other thing I was thinking, who's gonna, Eli and Tammy said they'll have to move. And that house has been there for generations. And he said, who's gonna buy your house with a cell tower on back of it? So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak during the public hearing?
Hi, my name's Bob Clout, and my wife mentioned the history of we were the third house to be built up there. It actually was before the water tower was even put up there. And there was, back then, there was Elmer Clement. I don't know if you remember the city manager back in 1958, but he always said that we would have access to our backyard. And it was a year ago, so I'm assuming we had rumor of the cell phone tower, that concrete barricades were put up where we can't go through there anymore to access our backyard. There's other names like George Jurgis lived there. He parked his camper bus up there. It's just all of a sudden disappeared. We can't access our backyard anymore. And my question is why is that? If the cell phone company is still going to do it? I know they mentioned the health concerns and that wasn't conducive to looking at, but my concern was more about the access to our backyard. And actually, the kids do like to play up there. And it's the city takes care of it. It's a green space that they mow, and then all of a sudden the water department said that there's no trespassing. Well, there's no signs up there. So one of the guys that works at the water department ran down to Ace Hardware, bought himself a no trespassing sign and put it up there. I don't know if that went through city council or how that happened, but now they can't go up there and play. I mean, it is a nice area, which I thought was strange that happened that way. And I don't really see why it would be any different than a park. You know, that would be a nice area up there. And I don't, does US Cellular lease the land from the city that they're going to be putting this tower on? And what is that? I guess what is that? And because we've also offered to purchase the land in front, behind our backyard, so that we could keep that access. And we were turned down for that because the city wasn't. They said that they weren't in the business of selling land, but acquiring land. And there would be a tax revenue. We'd be paying taxes on that property.
Sir, can I get you to focus on the conditional use permit? This is a public hearing on a conditional use permit for the US Cellular Tower. Okay, so we can follow up as far as access issues and things of that nature at a later time. So this is a public hearing just for the conditional use permit today.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, but still that barricade came up when that US Cellular was brought up, when when they started talking about the tower is when that was, our concrete barriers were put up. So that is related to a degree, it is related. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, can I have your address, please? Mr. Clout, what was your address?
1005 Madison Avenue,
Thank you.
previously 818 Mesmer.
Hi, I've never done this before. I'm at 721 Zapki Street, so I can see my house right there, and I have 2 young kids.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Sure, I'm Katie Oatsfall. We moved in about a year ago, and honestly, if there was a cell tower there, I don't think I would have wanted to move in there. So when this was brought to my attention, and I have 2 young kids, this is something naturally that me as a mom, I want to protect them from. And so I just don't agree with it being put right in our backyard. And I look out my window every day, and so it's a landscape thing for me too, as well as a resale property value to me too. So those 3 things are would be important to me and my family. For it not to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? You'll have to come to the microphone and speak so the public can. Can you wait until you get there? There's people on Zoom. I want to make sure everybody can
I'm
understand.
Betty Clout, but I know our neighbor that lives right next door, Denny Stark. He's been trying to get on here. He cannot come here personally. Is there any way you can talk on a phone or something?
Was he on the Zoom? I thought I saw a
I saw
Denny
it,
on
saw
the
it, but
Zoom.
I don't think.
I am
Get
on the
on.
Zoom right now.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Can you
Okay.
hear? Okay,
I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I am on the Zoom.
yeah, we can hear you, Denny. Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Dennis Stark, 814 Mesmer Street. And we've been here for 31 years now, almost 32 years. And like I say, when we bought it, it was nice, peaceful and everything. We don't see any enhancement to our property values by putting a tower back there, and we're concerned about the health risk. Rockwell School's not that far away. We don't have any little children anymore, obviously. I'm in my 70s. But for the concern of other people in the neighborhood with children, you know, I don't, if it does have some effects towards cancer and that, I don't think it's going to bother me in my 70s. I've already got cancer. So I'm not real concerned with myself, but I'm concerned with the other people in the neighborhood. And obviously concerned with the property values and the whole thing with the aesthetic value and everything. So I would also oppose this, what the city is calling an improvement to our neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else on the Zoom that wishes to speak at this public hearing? This is the second call for speaking at this public hearing.
I'd just like to ask a question, if this is the appropriate time. So my understanding is that US Cellular is going to be paying some kind of lease agreement to the city for the use of the property. Is that correct?
There has not been the council hasn't taken action on that. So how we structured this was coming through this conditional use permit process before the council would review the lease agreement, because we thought that there would be a healthy public hearing, and there has been. So if the conditional use permit is approved, then the council would consider a lease agreement between US Cellular for the land, use of the land.
Okay, thank you.
Am I able to take a picture of that for my husband?
Yeah, it's available on the city's website. So if you just click the, if you go to the city's website and then the Plan Commission packet, that's all available. You can see it, but you are welcome to take a picture if you'd like to. Yep. Okay, this is the third and final call for anybody wishing to speak at this public hearing. Okay, so we will close the public hearing. Okay, next item on the agenda is review and possible action on the conditional use permit for US Cellular 711 Zapki Street for the installation of a monopole communications tower on the north of the existing water tower.
Thank you. Zoning Administrator Juarez, is there anything additional related to this request for the conditional use permit that you'd like to add at this time?
I think the only thing that we didn't discuss yet was that the plan does have provisions for additional landscape screening and stuff to be installed around the ground mounted monopole and support building that's there. So that also is part of the attachments that you had. I believe you had a slide in there, Andy, that was showing that. That's the only additional thing I think that we didn't discuss.
Yeah, there's a perimeter shown here in this slide indicating the planting around.
Thaddeus, can you tell us a little bit about how you choose locations for these types of things and if there are other suitable locations in the city or in the area for this project?
Yes, so I am hired by US Cellular to place some of their cell towers. I am not an RF engineer. I am given the location by RF as there is a need in the neighborhood for cellular coverage. They essentially tell me the area that needs to be covered, and then I do my best to try to find a suitable location for US Cellular to provide them the service that they want to provide the community. So as their data pushes, it shows that this area is a high need area for capacity needs, and that is how we decided upon this location.
What is RF?
Radio frequency.
Okay, thank you. Did you consider any other locations in the city or outside of the city that would provide the additional coverage in the area?
Yes, I presented multiple locations to US Cellular, one being close to the high school, which was close in proximity to the interstate. That said that did not suit the needs for the area coverage. I presented a location close to the elementary school. The same thing, RF said that did not provide adequate coverage for the needs that they presented. And then we agreed upon this location, that being up on that hill at the elevation that they're presenting of a 70-foot monopole provided the cellular coverage needed for this area.
Thank you. Are there other questions from the Plan Commission?
I have a couple. Commissioner Kesnick, is this proposed project related at all to the project on the Blackhawk building? I mean, I know they're both US Cellular projects, but does the equipment work in conjunction with one another at all?
All their towers tie in to a certain extent, you know, from driving through Fort Atkinson, you know, passing from one cell tower to the next. If there's a dead zone, that's when you have your drop coverage, or you may end up with, you know, a data speed issue kind of thing. So when I got these two projects from US Cellular, there's a great need for coverage in this area, as you know, the city of Fort Atkinson appears to be growing, or their data needs appear to be growing. So US Cellular wants to keep up with that, you know, need to cover all of the population.
Would one still go ahead independently of the other project?
That is something I guess I can't speak on for US Cellular. I just am given the, you know, these projects and, you know, tasked with, you know, their need to cover these areas. Again, I'm not the radio frequency engineer, so I'm not savvy on that sort of thing.
I think this is my last question. Does this, obviously it's to enhance the connectivity of US Cellular customers. Does it enhance the connectivity of any other plan providers or customers of, customers of an organization other than US Cellular?
Yes, it has the potential, depending on the, service agreements that, say, a US Cellular and a Verizon have together for, roaming data, that sort of nature. Again, it also has, this tower does have the, is built to the conditional use permit to be co-locatable. So if an AT&T or somebody else wanted to come and place equipment on this tower to then provide a better service to the community, they have that ability to as well.
Yeah, that's something also, Commissioner Kesnick, that's in our zoning code. They have a requirement to provide co-location capability on new towers that they install.
So if let's say, Verizon wanted to add equipment to this Monopole tower, they would lease space from US Cellular, they would lease it from the city, both? Question mark?
Is that, yes. So the tower space would be owned by US Cellular, but the ground space would be owned by the city.
Right.
So they would likely have, and Thaddeus, correct me if I'm wrong here, but they would likely have some ground equipment that would need to be located on the ground as well as antennas.
Correct. Yep. So, somewhat similar to a US Cellular, what you see in this picture here on your screen would be something similar that another carrier would include. Wouldn't be to the, that grade area is pretty much like what we call our concrete pad where the equipment mounts to. That would be about the size that the additional carrier would need on the ground.
This is,
Thank you.
Thank you. So, this is Councilman Becker. I guess my question's more for city staff. Maybe Andy or Inspector Juarez would know. I know there are cell phone towers located kind of on the outskirts of the city. Are there currently any other cell phone towers or facilities located within any residential neighborhoods currently?
I know there aren't any on city property. I can't think of any within a residential location. I think the most recent one that we've dealt with here was out along Black Hawk Drive, south of kind of the Hoppe manufacturing building out there. That came before Plan Commission, right along the railroad, which is not a residential area, but certainly not too far from one. I don't know of any others besides that. I don't know if any, Brian, if you're aware of any within the city.
And then the only ones that I can think of is the one that's at down by the Space Saver office on Janesville Avenue, and then on the Space Saver plant further south. There's two there, and then there's the one on Blackhawk that you're talking about, the monopole that was built there. I'm unaware of any others in the city at this point. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, yeah, that's what I had somewhat figured, but no, I appreciate the clarification.
Any other questions from Plan Commission members?
Yes, this is Commissioner Schultz. I've just got one question. Out of curiosity, would this provide any different type of radio frequency range? Obviously, in the news, there's been some stories and whatnot about 5G data would this be similar or the same as what's currently like, what I can pick up with my cell phone right now throughout the city? Or is this like new frequency ranges that aren't being currently provided throughout the city?
No, appreciate the question. The proposed frequency is no different than the 4G frequency that's being utilized currently with all of our current phones.
Then I have one more question. I once served temporarily as a communications officer in the Army. And one of the things that we had to provide during missions was like more of a line of sight, I guess, plan where it kind of showed like the green and red areas of where access, or where radio frequency would or would not cover. Do you know, is there maps like that shows what this would, like what areas of the town that this would improve based on line of sight radio frequency with this new installment?
Yes, I do not have that available. That is likely something I could request from US Cellular, but that is not anything that I currently have available to me right now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thaddeus, this is Andy Selly. Question for you regarding this technology. Is it fair to say that the radio waves that are being received and transmitted by the cell tower are in fact the same radio waves that are transmitted and received by individual cell phones that we carry?
Yep. Well, what is being proposed now is not any different than what's already flowing through our houses and our neighborhoods and our districts right now.
So just clarifying, would that be akin to a conventional radio as well?
You mean like a two-way radio?
Two-way or the radios that maybe we grew up on as kids, where you turn the dial to tune in a station. Is that the same sort of radio wave, I guess, that we're talking about here?
Yeah, I believe in theory, yes. Again, radio waves or radio frequency, everything operates in its own spectrum or in its own, frequency set. US Cellular operates inside of what the FCC regulates them to operate in. It's kind of like real estate for the most part with radio frequency. We operate in a certain range. Verizon operates in another range. No different than, like you said, the radios that we utilize as kids or that sort of thing. It's all the same technology, just in different bands.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the Plan Commission on this matter?
Yeah, hi, this is Commissioner Lesko here. There was a document shared with the commission just prior to this meeting, and it appears to be a background paper from the American Cancer Society. And I gave it a quick read, but I just want to make sure that my quick read, that others are read the same thing into that. And so what I read was that based on current data and existing research, that this type of equipment doesn't appear to pose health concerns. But at the same time, it's also an area where the Cancer Society would like to see additional research done going forward. I know that's very a very succinct summary of what that document. There's more in there, of course, but did others read the same into that?
Yes.
Okay. And then I just have a question. Want to make sure that I'm reading some of the information in the packet, the site elevation plan that's in there. What's proposed is a 70-foot tall monopole, and then the existing water tower is about a little over 51 feet. Is that correct?
That is correct. And this
Okay.
drawing does show it to scale here.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I had.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the Plan Commission?
Thaddeus, in speaking to the residents' concerns about aesthetics, one of the things I noted that was not in this submittal, but we did see earlier in the Blackhawk submittal, were those photo renderings indicating, you know, I guess the line of sight from various homes. Is that something that that you have prepared or could prepare for this situation?
Yes, I did not have that prepared for this site. The reason we had that available for the other site was due to the SHPO submittal process. That was one thing that we, had as a requirement to kind of show the area. That document is something that I could have created if definitely need be.
I did visit the site. There are a number of coniferous trees out there that have, obviously vegetation year round, but there are also a number of deciduous trees. So leaf off during this time of year would probably be the most visible for this particular tower at that time.
I also see, and correct me if I'm wrong, Thaddeus, on the site plan that how many trees are you removing for that access and or the concrete pad?
Yep, I believe that the way we tried our best to place this was the least amount of trees touched whatsoever. So you see the stump in the access road, that would be one tree that would need to be removed. And then where we placed the compound area is just adjacent to the tree coverage. That was one thing we were trying to take into account with the local landowners, is trying to place this in a position that was hidden as best as possible with the existing tree cover, and then adding in the additional landscaping around the perimeter. We were doing our best to try to keep that as hidden and tucked in that tree line as possible with the least amount of removal of the trees. So the way we designed it, it appears only one tree will truly have to be removed. There may need some branches, trimmed here or there just to allow for the, a vehicle to pass without, running it, brushing into some trees. But we did take into account the existing tree coverage and wanted to remain, as close to the existing conditions as possible.
There's also a picture of a coniferous tree planting on that same sheet that we were just discussing there. It was L101 is where we were at. Are you planning to replace that tree that is being removed? And if so, where on the site is that going to be located? Because I see the 20 emerald green arborvitae on there.
Yep.
I don't necessarily see that other tree.
As of right now, we did not have it prepared, but again, we are more than willing and more than happy to do what we can to appease everybody. If we need to plant another tree or two along that access road for the tree that we removed, I know we would be happy to.
Eric, can you remind me of the information that you requested when you were asking questions a few moments back?
The first one would be a line of sight analysis showing what currently isn't covered versus what would be covered with the installation of this site. And then the second was, well, he answered it, the type of data transferred, and you said 4G.
Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but 810 Messmer and 818 Messmer are both to the south of this location, correct? They're not shown on this particular layout. Down here? So your property line is perhaps on the page, perhaps off the page slightly. And then okay. And then 721 Zapki Street would also not be seen in this particular area, correct? It's off to the.
On the map he's.
I'm
talking
looking at
about.
this. Is this your house here? I can't, I can zoom in a bit here. That's 721 Zapki. Okay, thank you.
I have one more question. The property that the city owns, that's zoned utility, is that the zoning?
Institutional.
Institutional. Okay. Because the water tower's there?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but institutional zoning is generally applied to most public places. So schools, city buildings, that sort of thing.
Correct. Utilities, public facilities. Yep.
And what's the typical setback from the residents' property lines to the new construction? I mean, the closest.
The requirement for the tower, it has a 100% fall setback. So there's a slide there that shows the circle. You can see the circle around the tower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the fall down. That's a 70-foot fall down setback, so that tower cannot hit an adjacent property if it were to come down.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the Plan Commission?
Two quick questions. This is Commissioner Schultz. First one is, like, do these produce any noise in and of themselves during operation?
Sorry,
I
is
guess.
that directed to me? That is.
Yeah. Yes.
No, they do not. No, they are not. Windmills will generate a little bit of sound from the wind, but these cell towers do not generate any noise that you can hear.
All right, thank you. And then second question, like, sir, how often would these need to be serviced that there would be, vehicular traffic to the area?
Outside of the construction phase of this project, you would only see a US Cellular technician if there was a service outage or for their, once a quarter maintenance, which would be, once every 3 or 4 months. Outside of that, it is an unmanned, station.
Any final questions or comments from the Plan Commission? I personally would like to see those photo renderings, Thaddeus, and I'd also like to see the tree replaced and the line of sight analysis as requested by Commissioner Schultz. Is there a
I
way?
agree.
Is there
I
a way?
would like to see a line of sight.
Is there a way we can get those items and at a future Plan Commission meeting?
Yes, yep, I can certainly request those. When you say a line of sight, is there a certain location you're wanting to see a line of sight, or kind of just the drawings from the previous location is kind of a synopsis from the surrounding areas?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Schultz. So obviously there's current existing cell towers, throughout that we have cell access to. So obviously from those locations, those provide a certain line of sight distribution of coverage to the area. And you would see typically on, line of sight tools that I've used, like, green where you have line of sight and then red where you don't. And then so then it'd be, I guess, two maps, one showing existing line of sight of cell phone coverage in Fort Atkinson, and then a second one showing what it would be with the installation of this tower.
Okay. So essentially what we're referring to as a line of sight map would be like a radio frequency propagation map showing the current existing conditions versus one, if this tower were to be placed here, what that coverage would fill this area in with.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And then Thaddeus, I think that the photos that we're talking about on the ground, I think if those could be taken as close to the perspectives of the homeowners as possible, that would be the perspective that I would be looking for.
Agreed.
I just want to say it's not often that we get too many public comments at our planning commission meetings, so I appreciate that we did have some people from the neighborhood who expressed their concerns, and I do think we need to, take those into consideration as we look at possibly moving forward with this. I understand it's public property, but at the same time, I think there's a difference with the water tower, which serves everybody's needs, and a cell phone tower that potentially only serves the needs of the people that subscribe to that service. So I just think that's something to think about as we keep considering this.
I will bring up two just points of process. The first being that the next plan commission meeting, if we are looking to table this item to get the additional information, the next plan commission meeting will not have a public hearing. Secondly, per our zoning code, substantial evidence is all the plan commission can use to approve or deny a conditional use permit. And substantial evidence means facts and information other than merely pure personal preferences or speculation directly pertaining to the requirements and conditions an applicant must meet to obtain a conditional use that reasonable persons would accept in support of that conclusion. That is per state law that did change in 2017 relating to conditional use permits. Wanted to make those two process facts clear. As far as scheduling this for an additional plan commission meeting, I think we would like to work with Thaddeus offline to see how much time he might need to produce the documentation requested by the plan commission. The plan commission does meet every 2 weeks. The second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. So we could get this on another agenda. It would be publicly noticed as all of our meetings are. However, as I mentioned, there would not be a public hearing at that meeting. So Thaddeus, are you clear in what the plan commission would like to see when this matter comes back before the commission?
Yes, we need to have photo sims from nearby property owners as well as the RF existing propagation map compared to the current propagation map if this tower were to be placed in this position.
And also where you're going to put that tree. I would like to know where the tree is going to go.
Thank you for that.
And for those members in the audience, you will not receive a letter about the next meeting. So I would encourage you to maybe leave your email address as you exit, or call me or anyone at the city's offices and stay informed of the next meeting. Again, the meetings are the second and fourth Tuesday of each month. So that if we're able to get this on for the next available meeting, that would be the second Tuesday of February.
Okay, I think we are clear on not taking action on this item today. It does not have to be formally tabled. We do not have to take action. So the next thing on the agenda is the notice of the Joint Plan Commission and City Council meeting on Tuesday, February 1st, 2022 at 6 p.m. at City Hall and via Zoom. That is simply a point of information to the Plan Commission. That will be where we hold the public hearings for the official map and the comprehensive plan amendments. That is a joint meeting of the Plan Commission and the City Council. Okay, next item.